Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today I'm going to be doing a series ranking for the 3 Say Cheese and Die books. Yes, these right here. I have just finished up reviewing the 3rd and final book of this so-called trilogy. It's not really a trilogy, they don't really tie into each other that well. The first 2 books kind of do, but not really. Finished the 3rd book from the Horrorland series called Say Cheese and Die Screaming, and it was mostly fine, you know? So I'm kind of in this place. I gotta reorganize these real quick before I get into my review ranking thing. As you know, in case you're new to my channel, this happens to be my first video for you. I also have all 3 of these books individually reviewed, not in depth, but a spoiler-free review here on my channel in case you want to check out those things. Been gone for a week because I was on a honeymoon and stuff, in case you haven't seen my previous videos. Made some videos for you guys and talked about that a little bit. But anyway, I have a ranking video here I want to make for these 3 books, from my worst to my favorite. And I think a lot of people who've kept up my reviews already, if you haven't, this will be a surprise for you. I think most people will already know what my favorite's going to be, more than likely. But you never know. I'm going to start at number 3 and work my way up to number 1. I think most people who have read these 3 books probably already know the number 1 spot regardless. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, starting with number 3, this one might be a little bit of a surprise after my last couple of reviews from the honeymoon and whatnot. But anyway, this book is one I just finished reading. Of course, that is book number 8 of the Goosebumps Horrorland series, Say Cheese and Die Screaming. I know I said in my review that I think this is a little bit of an improvement in some ways over the second book, Say Cheese and Die Again, from the old classic 90s series. And it kind of is. It kind of is in some ways. It's kind of a middle ground between the first book being so serious, the second book being so cartoonish and silly. There are some things in here I don't like. Just kind of nitpicky things more than anything. I think children who are the target audience for these books would be fine with those things. I think most of us older fans who grew up on the 90s series, the 90s TV show, the movies, all that stuff, I think a lot of us have, I want to say most people have higher standards. I do not have high standards. So I enjoyed all 3 of these books in this trilogy, if you want to call it that. I have to be honest though when I tell you that I did not love this book. I did not love the second book. I like the second book more though because of that. I have very low standards for movies, books, all that stuff, so I can enjoy something a lot of people can't enjoy. This book was good. It was fine for what it was. It's not wonderful. It's not a gift from God. It's not lovable or anything like that. I think there's some audience members out there who might like this a lot more than I do. I just feel like I like this less than Say Cheese and Die Again. I just do. It's a fine book. It's a fun book. Very cool concept of this girl finding the camera, the very special camera that might be predicting the future with the pictures that people take, or possibly causing horrendous curses and whatnot to happen to people. That story is handled a little bit more serious here than the second book, Say Cheese and Die Again, did. And I like that aspect. It works well. I'm glad there's things like that in here that hold up a little bit better. But overall, I have to go with my number 2 pick over top of this. I think that Say Cheese and Die Again, the old classic series, book number 44, one of the later books, as a matter of fact. There's 62 books, kind of close to the end, a little bit. This is not wonderful. This is kind of almost an insult to people who love the first book. The first book, for anybody who hasn't read that, you don't know how dark that book is. It's one of the darkest Goosebumps books out there, kind of like A Night in Terror Tower, Not a Living Dummy. Most of the dummy books, for that matter, are kind of dark. That first book is very dark. And it feels like this is more comedy-based, more cartoonish, more silly, more goofy, and that's fine. You have Greg Banks back, which is cool. There's more of the story about Greg trying to impress his teacher and tell him about this time of this really wild incident in his life. He happens to mention the camera. He goes to the old house. The house is gone and burned down. I don't think it's burned down, actually. It's just torn down, something like that. So Greg has to meet the new kid whose family bought the property and tear the house down and stuff, and he gets the camera from this kid. I forgot all those details when I did my review, so apparently I messed up my review a little bit. Forgot about that. Forgive me, guys. I promise you I read the book. So, yeah. The book was okay. Has a lot of weird stuff, like Greg getting fat. It's odd. It's a very odd book. The solution is a little odd in the finale, but it's not horrible. It's not completely awful. I know a lot of people hate it. I understand why a lot of people would want to turn this whole video off and turn my whole channel away from themselves for the rest of their lives and livings because of this opinion of having the second book be over top of the third book. I just can't help it. I kind of like this more. I like the cover way more with the family sitting at the table. I think that's kind of amusing. The TV episode of this, I haven't watched it again, but I saw it one time many years ago, and it was horrible. It was horrible. They didn't even bring back Ryan Gosling. Which brings me to my #1 pick in the ranking series, which should be obvious, like I said, for anybody who has read these 3 books, who's read Goosebumps. I think most people who either grew up or already knew the classic series pretty fondly, or even the TV show alone, think that Say Cheese and Die should be #1 because it's fantastic. I love dark stories. I love dark movies, dark books, all this stuff. My favorite Spider-Man film is Amazing Spider-Man. It's the darkest of all the Spider-Man films. Argue all you want about it not being as well made, that's whatever. The film itself is dark. I love Batman Begins, I love Dark Knight Rises, not so much, or not Dark Knight Rises, excuse me, I hate that film. Dark Knight, you know? I love a lot of dark films. They don't really get the respect they deserve, most movies that are like that. I don't think most of the Goosebumps books that are really dark get the kind of love that they deserve. This book does, for sure. That's one thing that's really great. This book is so good, dude. Greg Banks finds a camera, and this camera in an abandoned house where a homeless man named Spidey, or Spider, if you want to call him that, lives, possibly, and might be protecting this thing. He finds it, essentially Greg finds this thing in a secret compartment, takes it home with him, he starts taking pictures of like his dad's car and stuff, brand new car they just got. There's some really spooky stuff that happens in this book. Say Cheese and Die is one of the best Goosebumps books out there, whether it be from the classic series, whether it be from the newer stuff, anything that's been around from the last 20-something years. This is one of the best, one of the most early even, Goosebumps books that's ever been existent, ever. I mean, it's just a fantastic read. If you haven't read this book, I'm really surprised it took me so long to get here. I might have read this one time in my entire life. I saw the TV episode Once Upon a Time, just saw that again recently and reviewed it on the channel as well. Say Cheese and Die is such a great, great treat. If you haven't read this book before, it is such a fantastic book, such a scary book too. Really dark, very creepy. People could die in this book even. It is a horrifically scary book. I'll be honest with you. This one can raise some chills on your neck. And that's a great thing when it comes to Goosebumps. The fact that a kid's book series, and just in this case, one book out of that series, can do that. It's amazing to me. That's why I kind of figure that Say Cheese and Die Again, the second book, is almost a little bit of a slap in the face to people who love this book. Because it turns into a cartoon, essentially. And it's almost insulting why they did that. But, you know, Stein can write comedy well, too. That's why Say Cheese and Die Again is not a complete failure, in my opinion, even though I have pretty low standards for anything I really enjoy. But this one is so special. It's such a great, great book. I could not recommend this enough to you if you haven't read it. It's one of the best dark Goosebumps books out there. One of the best Goosebumps books ever, for that matter. Really creepy stuff. Really creepy book, and I highly recommend it. But overall, folks, that is my ranking series for the Say Cheese and Die trilogy, if you want to call it that. There might be a 4th book at some point in the future, I don't know. There's so many monster blood books. We're getting another one of those sometime soon. Then I'll have to redo another ranking series. That's going to be crazy trying to do that, you know? So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with all this. Anyway, that is my series ranking for Say Cheese and Die. There's no more of these at this current point. If there is more, I will review those and talk about them, make another ranking video and all that stuff. Just like I plan on doing with the new Monster Blood book next year, God willing, if I'm alive. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the ranking series. I have many of these out there, Monster Blood. I haven't done the dummy books yet. I haven't finished all the dummy books. There's still some I haven't touched, like Diary of a Dummy. My Best Friend Slappy, I think is what it's called. Whatever the new one is that's coming out soon. There's so many of them I haven't read yet, so I still want to wait off until the Slappy World books are done. Maybe all the Slappy books in general are totally done in the future. But even so, what are your thoughts on the Say Cheese and Die books? Put your thoughts in comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me on my thoughts on the ordering of my ranking? What do you think? I know a lot of people are probably pissed about this ranking, but forgive me. It's my opinion, and suck it. Can't help it. I really like the second book in the sense of that cartoonish nature being a slap in the face, but also being kind of gutsy, if you will. It probably shouldn't have went that way, but they decided to do it anyway. I'm kind of surprised by that. Anyway, what are your thoughts on all this stuff? Put your thoughts in comments down below. Again, please let me know down in the comment section about what you think about this background, this new recording area, and the apartment my wife and I live in. I'm trying to find something that looks good and sounds good and whatnot. The acoustics are pretty good here. I have a fan right there, so I don't know if that's making any noise. Please let me know down in the comment section down below about that as well, if you will. Sorry for being so stuttery. Very dry mouth. Have not drank enough water today. I'm all over the place. I'm such a mess today. And plus getting organized in my new place to live. Marriage is a wild thing. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below, guys. Thank you for watching. God bless you today, and goodbye.